Hello and welcome to another edition of All Elite Arcade. It is Monday, and as always, here at All Elite Arcade at AEW Games, we talk video games on Monday. As always, I'm Evil Uno, here with my good friend the Chugs. Chugs, what you been playing this week?
Uno, I got to play quite a bit. Well, maybe not. Maybe didn't get the chance to play a ton of games, but I got to do a lot of stuff in the world of gaming, including setting up some new consoles, which I'm very excited to talk about.
I love a new console week.
Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah. It's what a year it's been, and what a week it's been. But once again, I have to start it off as always. This is big news for me. Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket. I did complete the Deluxe EX set, which had over 300 cards, which was awesome. Especially, it was driving me wild because I think the cards completely disappear on October 30th. So I really needed to start hustling and moving, and I made it happen. Now, of course, there are super rare cards like 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, shiny, double shiny, gold cards that I have to collect. That I need to really, really increase my collection rate. But I did complete the set, so now I don't have to worry about certain cards disappearing forever. Also, I wanted to mention this. I know I always mention the battles as well, and I'm sure I've briefly mentioned this before, but I swear as the card packs continue to come out, the battles get harder and harder. Either that or like the computer is just getting smarter and smarter because all the different combinations of these attacks and trying to figure out how you're going to counter them it has gotten even more difficult, which is really fun to try to figure out and look through your entire set of Pokemon cards and figure out which combinations are going to work well against the expert computer. But I'm slowly but surely picking away at winning all the battles. So once again, every morning, Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket. Love it. I think by far this is the most I've ever been into a mobile game. And of course, as well, I am currently streaming 2 different games right now. One of those being Clair Obscur Expedition 33, a game that very likely is going to at least be in the nomination for Game of the Year, and rightfully so. And there was a really big moment for me. I'm not going to go into any specific story spoilers or anything like that, or any detail whatsoever. But I did unlock, I believe, my final party member, because I got an achievement saying that I found all the party members. And the newest party member, he's awesome. Really, really cool character that I'm excited to experiment with more. I do have my set of 3 characters that I've really enjoyed using, and it's really hard for me to kind of veer off from that path. But this character is so cool. I feel like I got to learn everything about him and use him a lot more as well. But I did notice this as well. Again, the story is incredible. Music, I say it every single week, but I have to say it. I want to scream it from the mountaintops. But I have noticed this. So again, because this game is so fascinating, there's so much to do. There's a ton of side content. I, on stream, have been doing a lot of side content, a lot. And oftentimes I will run into an enemy or a mini boss or a boss or an area where I stand absolutely no chance. I get absolutely destroyed. But sometimes I do well, and I manage to walk away with either a really good weapon or a really great Pictos. And I have noticed, especially on the last stream, I just focused on the main story at this point. And I will say, I'm feeling pretty overpowered.
At this point, yes.
At this point, for some of these main enemies, like for example, I got attacked by this one enemy, and the boss came and they got the first turn. I killed the boss before I even got a turn, just based on counters and things like that. So I like that in RPGs. I like that if you do take the time to explore and fight different enemies and collect different items, you do get incredibly powerful. I think that's cool. That feeling of powering up in an RPG is awesome.
The side stuff, I think, is supposed to be unattainable theoretically. Like, I think you're supposed to they warn you in certain levels, but even the ones that they don't warn you are made to be extremely difficult. If you look at the mime fights, it's the same thing. So it's almost you're almost pushed to maybe come back to them later on. And if you don't, you're rewarded with stuff that's like fairly strong. If you're able to grudge through it, if you're able to parry your way through to a win, it's well worth it if you can get through it. But I remember from my playthrough, those side contents are hard to beat.
Some of them really difficult. Like there have been, and honestly, I should be better about this, but parrying is obviously so huge in Expedition 33, and oftentimes unless I'm put in a situation where I know I can't win unless I parry, I still have a tendency to dodge instead.
Same. I'm the same
I
way.
just want to play it as safe as possible. But then I have encountered some optional bosses. This was a few streams ago where it was like, oh, I stand no chance unless I parry these enemies. And then after dying a bunch of times, I eventually got the parrying system down and won. And like you said, the XP I got was unreal.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The weapons I got were unreal. So that part is very fun and very satisfying. I am just having such a great time with Expedition 33. And speaking of having such a great time, the other game I'm playing, of course, is Hollow Knight Silksong. I'm continuing further in my streamed playthrough, which has been super, super fun. Still in Act 1 on stream, but having a blast going and collecting a bunch of different things. I've also done kind of a different pattern on stream compared to what I've done on my Steam Deck OLED in my own playthrough. But mostly I wanted to talk about my own personal file is, Uno, I think, because at this point, for me wanting to get the true ending.
You roll the credits, right? The original credits. Yeah.
Yes, I did roll the base ending credits of the game. But again, if I want to get the true ending, there is so much more content to do, more areas to explore, more bosses, more items, all that stuff. But I did double check. I think I'm like one tool away from doing 100% of everything that I can do before I go on this true ending path. Which
really? Okay. You're not that far away then. Okay.
Not that far away. So, but once again, minor spoilers for the story for the true ending here is there is indeed an Act 3 if you want to get the true ending. So a whole new act for this game. I want to make sure that I collect, because all I've been told is this, is I want to make sure I collect and do as much as I possibly can before Act 3 starts, because I don't know what this means, but I was told everything in the game gets significantly harder.
Yeah. And chances are you might be locked out from some pieces of content if you go from 2 to 3 as well.
Yes, exactly. So I have been looking at like a spoiler-free guide almost just to make sure that I'm collecting everything I'm collecting. So hopefully next week I'll be able to talk a little bit about Act 3 and what that entails. But again, Silksong is a game that I'm thinking about when I'm not playing it. Same with Expedition 33. I just can't get enough of those two games. They've been so much fun. So again, hopefully next week I'll be able to talk a little bit about Act 3. However, there was some new stuff that I finally got to get my hands on.
Yes, this I'm excited to hear about.
Yes. So I was very excited about this, and I did get my hands on a ROG Xbox Ally X, the new handheld PC from Xbox. And let me tell you, first and foremost, the form factor and how it feels in your hands, it's maybe the best feeling handheld I have ever held before. It feels incredibly premium. Me personally, I like the weight of like a Pro controller or the weight of a handheld. This to me feels the heaviest as opposed to a Steam Deck or a Switch 2. The screen itself is a beautiful 1080p. So the screen looks absolutely gorgeous. The speakers sound really, really well. I did have a scare for a second, Uno, where when I opened it up, I thought, oh, that's cool. There's hair triggers. Because my right trigger wouldn't go down the whole way. But then I noticed that my left one did go down the whole way, and I looked and there was no hair trigger button or anything. So I got absolutely terrified. I'm like, no, my ROG Xbox Ally X is already damaged. What happened? And then all of a sudden I'm there messing around with it and it just popped, and now it works perfectly. Works perfectly fine. So it was stuck on something. But now, like I said, completely good to go because I did test it as well. So I didn't get to download any games yet on the ROG Xbox Ally X, which is a bummer. Once again, next week, I'll definitely have more to talk about there. But I did get the chance to, because I do have Game Pass Ultimate, to cloud stream a game. And of course, one of the first games that I wanted to try, because I've never had the chance to play this in handheld mode before, was indeed Halo 5 Guardians. And let me tell you, it looks and runs great. It like, again, everything frame rate wise, it was super smooth. The picture itself looked absolutely beautiful. And again, this was all from the cloud as well. So it looked and ran awesome. It felt really, really great to play as well. Also, too, I did want to mention this is I'm so used to the Steam Deck OLED that the UI there, Steam and Valve makes it generally pretty easy and straightforward to navigate and what you want to do and stuff. So this is just a heads up, and this is just my experience. This 100% is a Windows PC handheld. So it can be a little bit trickier to navigate. Like I'm still kind of trying to figure out where to go and what to do. And even the difference from checking it out yesterday to today before the podcast, I'm starting to understand exactly how to maneuver and go around. And right now, still just updating a bunch of stuff too, to try to get everything updated to the most current patches and things like that. But so yeah, definitely make sure either you watch a guide, or if you know exactly what you're doing, then you shouldn't have a problem at all. But for me, it's been a learning process. But let me tell you, I think look-wise and feel-wise, this is probably the best feeling handheld I've ever had. So I'm excited to be able to actually download some games and play those as well. I guess Doom: The Dark Ages looks and runs great on the Xbox Ally X. Also, as well, you can download so much of your game library because this is indeed a PC. So it comes with Steam, Epic Games, literally anything that you can think of, this thing can run. So it's really, really cool in that sense.
It's going to probably be very easy for emulation as well.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You could probably do Excel on this if you really wanted to.
Yeah. It is indeed just a PC. So that's been fun. Again, I just got my hands on it for the very first time yesterday. So hopefully I will have more to say. I definitely will have more to say next week as I download some more games and play it some more. And continue working through the UI and updating and things like that, trying to get it as optimized as possible, like with Armory Crate and things like that. But so far, I'm really enjoying it. It's a really cool handheld that feels really nice. I'm definitely gonna have more to say, but as far as initial reaction, super positive for me. Really digging the ROG Xbox Ally X. But I've been talking about this for weeks. Last but not least, I finally, Uno, got my PlayStation 5 Pro all set up.
Hell yeah.
This was yesterday. There were a couple of things, whether it was the Xbox handheld or the PS5 Pro. I wanted to make it a gaming day where I got a bunch of stuff as set up as I could. Also, I do want to mention this. As many people know, the PS5 Pro is the strongest home console on the market right now. It looks incredible. It's super fast. Again, the picture quality for the games, which I will get into, which game I'm talking about here in a minute. But it looks awesome. And I did want to mention this as well with how seamless this process was. So with the PlayStation 5 Pro, I did also get a disk drive to install there. I got the vertical stand as well. And I did have a internal SSD. It was a FireCuda, a 4 terabyte in my original PlayStation 5. And for me, I know I've mentioned this before, but for mid-generation consoles, I like to keep all the games on that console. So for example, a PS4 to a PS4 Pro, I would want all my PS4 games on my PS4 Pro. Yeah. But when you get to a new generation, like when I get to PS6, then I start over fresh again. Yeah. So with the PS5 Pro, I wanted to convert all my games. Uno, I had 99 games on my on my PS5. But dude, it was so easy. All I did was moved all of my games to my internal SSD. And then I took the plate off on the PS5 Pro, installed the internal SSD into my PS5 Pro, turned it on. Everything was just there.
No reformatting, nothing.
Worked. No reformatting, nothing. It recognizes it because it is, a PS5. So that made it so simple and so easy, which was awesome. And again, a super, super easy setup. And the first game, the 100th game in the PS5 generation, and my first game on my PS5 Pro, I wanted it to, of course, be Ghost of Yotei.
Yes.
And I got to play only a little bit of Ghost of Yotei. And initial impressions, very similar to the Xbox handheld. Super positive. First of all, this game is it's easily one of the prettiest, if not the prettiest games I've ever seen on console. The game is just absolutely beautiful looking. Oh, also, I did want to mention as well, I did get the Pulse Elite headset as well because I wanted to do the 3D audio for Ghost of Yotei as well.
Yeah, is that dramatically different? I've been thinking about getting one as well.
It's really nice.
Yeah,
it's really nice. So I had the Pulse 3D headset on the launch of the PS5, and the Pulse Elite is even more comfortable. The quality of sound is even better, especially for a game like Ghost of Yotei. So to have that 3D audio as well was really, really cool. I love too on the PS5 Pro. how there is that special mode. It's called Ray Tracing Pro, where the game has ray tracing and it runs at 60 frames per second. So it just looks just drop dead gorgeous, like I said. And I got to play a little bit of the combat as well, which I think this combat is going to be pretty challenging.
Oh, yeah.
At least for me.
I can tell you from my experience as of yet, it is very challenging.
Yeah, because even the initial area, I found myself dying a few times in the prologue and just figuring out, how to parry, how to block. I made the mistake initially of just trying to dodge, like treating it like a Souls game almost. And that's not how you're supposed to treat this combat for sure. But once I got the hang of it, I feel like as this game progresses and you unlock more skills and abilities and continue to learn more about this game's combat, it's going to feel so sick to fight a bunch of enemies. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention, again, I've said before that I think Ghost of Tsushima had one of the greatest video game intros with title screens popping in gaming history. Ghost of Yotei had a really, really awesome intro as well.
Very strong beginning.
God, when you first see that open world, it's breathtaking, absolutely breathtaking. Like, I can't wait to continue to explore and run around more and see what this open world has to offer because it looks just incredible. So Ghost of Yotei, I'm so glad I finally got it started, and I can't wait to play more. I can't wait to play more Uno.
I can tell you from my experience, because you're maybe a few hours in, and now I am at, I would say maybe a total of about 12 hours in.
Nice.
It's hard to tell the scope of the game because they do present you with a big map. They do, right off the bat, the story is pretty straightforward. You're looking to get revenge on like 6 characters. And within the first few hours,
I love that.
I love that it very straightforward. They tell you where they are. Go do whatever the hell you want. And so,
Uno, I'm so sorry. Can I quickly say too, they do such a good job of immediately, like, the main character seems like such a badass.
Oh yeah. They're awesome. They're awesome.
It's so cool. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, please. So right off the bat, they tell you that you have 6 opponents to go. You can kind of freely explore the entirety of the game right away. So if you wanted, you could beeline to the most northern part of the map, which I respectfully seems very, very far considering how much I've already done and how little it is of the full map. In 12 hours, I have nonstop combed every little area. I think that first, it's hard to constitute what the first starting area is, but of the 6 assassins you're going for, the first area has at least 1, and I've combed the entirety of that thing. And in 12 hours, I'm realizing that if I do that for every area that I could see on the map, this game's pretty big. I think this is a fairly large game because I think I've maybe covered a sixth of what the surface of the map is right now. And then not to mention, it has an incredible amount of story in it too. I love that you could theoretically just go for the main story beats and be perfectly fine. But if you go for the extra story beats on the side or even go and comb the world, you'll be heavily rewarded. Like new fighting styles, new armors, new charms that'll help your stats. Fighting styles, especially this game, if you're talking about the combat, I think it's spread out into 3 different categories. I think there's combat for a full map that is stealth. So, for example, when you go into a camp and you use the stealth combat, you can go about it several ways. You can go in and announce your presence right away and fight a ton of enemies one by one. And by one, I mean they constantly come at you and can attack you 2 or 3 at a time. But the entirety of the map comes to you. Or you can fight it as a stealth. And both of those modes are incredible. Those feel a lot like the first game. There are some new bells and whistles, but in the end, it does feel like Ghost of Tsushima. What I think is vastly different, it's what you were saying as well, is the one-on-one duels are dramatically more difficult than the first game, I find. It almost feels like Sekiro, where parries are so important. They give you indicators, either like a flashing light on a weapon will designate what kind of reversal you need to do on it. And this is on regular mode. I think on the stronger modes, you might not have this. But there are indicators for dodge. There are indicators for parries. There are indicators for essentially there are attacks that could remove your weapon entirely and keep and leave you unguarded with like no shield, no sword or nothing. that puzzle element of it is so hard. Because as I've gone further into this game, every duel is a completely different puzzles of those elements and of attacks. And as you progress, you yourself get more weapons. You don't become solely a katana person. Slight spoilers, but you have all kinds of other weapons. There's a weapon wheel of 4 weapon styles, and within those styles, there are things that you can like play around with in a big skill tree. But the same applies to enemies as well. So if you have a duel, you think it starts with a katana, but at some point that duel could go to like a double blade, or go into a whip, or go into a halberd, or go into other stuff. So it's been very fascinating to like not only do the puzzle piece for the katana portions, but when they switch it around, you have to switch your puzzle piece to play to your advantage. It's been a very, very good combat system, and I feel like I'm constantly challenged, but not, at least I'm not cut out of content yet. I still feel everything is attainable. It still has some breathtaking scenery like the first game. That opening you were talking about is one of them. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is in the option menus, they give you several different modes on how you can play this game. You have the original mode. You have the Takashi Mike, I think is actually the name, mode, where it actually zones in much tighter, so the combat feels like you can't see an enemy coming from afar. It's very cut and tight. It doubles the amount of mud and blood that is spewed, so it becomes like a very gory game with very close, hard, difficult combat. So you could just switch that on the fly at any point. You can also switch to a black and white mode that has a letterbox, and that feels like more like an old school samurai movie. And the mode that I've been using recently is that it's a very ambient sound game. There's not a whole lot of music, but there is a mode where you can change it to Watanabe mode, who is the director of a bunch of animes, and he made a playlist of songs that are just a bunch of cool lo-fi beats that you could just switch to. And then if you're doing nothing but exploration, it makes it such a nice little experience rather than just the silence of it. So I've been playing around with all those modes. It's been really cool because you can flip them on a dime. You could decide like, oh, I'm in a big combat. Let's switch it to the heavy blood stuff, and then, you know, have all that switch back to your original. You're now in like not a story beat. Let's see what kind of music they're using instead of just, you know, the sounds of wind and stuff. So it has a lot of cool ideas in here and a lot of very simple ways to make it unique to yourself, including the combat, the skill trees. But I think that the option menus is even more interesting, that you can have essentially like different directors for the video game.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because all I knew about was like initially on the startup menu, it's like English, no subtitles, English with subtitles, Japanese voice acting, but English subtitles, and then the black and white mode as well, like an old school movie in a lot of ways. So I didn't know you could add even more stuff like doubling the violence and also the music in the background. What a great idea. That's awesome.
Yeah, and they're all like based on very popular directors from Japan too. So like it is specific to their movie styles. And I think that's very cool. And it's like a very neat addition that genuinely doesn't need to be in this game. But just the fact that you could do that on the fly and make your experience feel different. This is a game I think you could play once and then go and play it in a different mode, and it'll feel, you know, different enough that it will be warranted a new game plus. Same, and there's 4 different ones of these modes too. So I think there's a lot of content to play in this game, and I also think it's going to have a lot of a long shelf life, because this is coming out. It did announce there's going to be DLC. We do have the online multiplayer mode next year, so I think this is an extremely strong game for an already strong year, and I'm very excited to play more of it, because it's really scratching the itch of like that open world game that I feel like I didn't really get this year. Other than that, I've been playing so many indie games. We're already 25 minutes into this, so I'm going to try and wrap it up quick. But I will be honest, all of the games I'm about to talk about are so damn good, and they all came out in the last month. First off, I talked about Megabonk, but I'm doing more of that. That's the 3D Vampire Survivor style game. I'm I would say in the last half of the game, it's hard to tell because you're just slowly unlocking things. But I'm starting to get to a point where I realize, like, oh, I could see the end of what is unlockable now. And I've played 30 hours already of this. So I think this incredible game, cheap to buy. It's very fun. I'm really starting to love the new systems of every different character that gets integrated in. A lot of the times, it's speed or verticality and stuff like that. So it really changes some aspects of the game that become difficult at the beginning. You could change those characters later on, and it becomes a much speedier game. So I've been really enjoying that. But then I've been playing so many new indie games, including I'll start with Ball X Pit. That's a Devolver game that just came out. I talked about it at the last Next Steam Fest, which I believe was last summer, where I played a demo of it, which was just the opening level. What it is, it's a roguelike game in structure, but it's a pinball breakout style game. So you're a character, you shoot balls, they bounce off, and you're essentially trying to kill individual enemies that slowly ramp down towards you in a row like Breakout does. But it has like a skill tree. You could change some of your pinballs to have specific effects. You're allowed 4 different pinball effects. You can, as you level up those pinballs, they can then start evolving with each other in the same way that a Vampire Survivor weapon would, or a lot of other roguelike elements are. So by the end of a run, as you face several bosses, the run usually is there are several maps, and the run is usually 5 minutes, you get to one boss, 5 minutes, you get to one boss, 5 minutes, you get to the last boss, and then the run ends. As you progress forward, and you're leveling up your balls, you can start evolving them to a point that it just becomes insane. You could really break this game, which I think is a fascinating part of a lot of roguelike games, is that you could feel so damn powerful in a game like this. And so that's been very exciting to play. I think it's a great mechanic. But then every time you finish a run or you lose, you go back to your hub, and there's a base building element of it. Essentially, you're placing down crops, you're placing down buildings. The buildings might help your stats. The buildings might unlock new characters or new mechanics. The crops will essentially give you resources. Those resources you can invest into buildings for upgrades. So every time you hit that crop, for example, instead of giving you 1 piece of wood, it give you 4 pieces of wood. So there's a really cool base building element, and that also has a pinball element to it, where you have to place it in a grid the way you think you can bounce off the most of it in 6 seconds, and then you shoot off a ball. And then, for example, if you're trying to build a building, you would drop, a school, but you need to hit that school 15 times for it to be built properly. So in your one run, you try to maximize as many things you hit. And it's a very interesting loop. It's got a great soundtrack. It's an extremely strong year at the extremely strong game as well. I have no idea where it's going to place by the end of the year, but I'm having an absolute blast. Another one on the roguelike train. You're gonna see a lot of these, unfortunately for me. This might be my type of game, but I also played Absolum, which I think this one's for you, Chugs. I think for sure.
Okay.
It is kind of a Streets of Rage style game, so a side scroller beat 'em up. Except it is also a roguelike. So as you play through the game and you die, you then come back to a hub, and in that hub you can meet different characters. There are new story beats, very similar to Hades. There's constantly little story beats every time you come back. But the way it is structured like a Streets of Rage game or one of those side-scrolling fighters with branching paths. So, when you start off the game, you can go north or south, and then the north path has all kinds of stuff. The south path has kind of stuff. And there's an overarching overworld map that as you go down a path, you might meet a character that gives you information about a different place. So then on your next one, you're like, well, I should probably try and gear myself towards this because I know if I interact with this, it'll help that, so on and so forth. So there's really, like, on top of it being fun to do the hack and slash elements, there's a lot of story beats. There's a lot of intertwining pieces that makes you decide which run you go for. And so it really makes, I feel like the hardest part of these hack and slash games is once I finish the game and I did the 8 levels, I never want to play it again. There's not a whole lot for me to do except, unless I can get people with me, it's usually co-op, and that's great. For this, what I think is unique is that I feel like I'm constantly rewarded every time I do the loop. There's more stuff to unlock. There's more things to interact with. And then even beyond the mechanics, I'm very mechanically driven. This is a gorgeous game. It looks like a Mike Mignola comic book art. Hellboy, for example, it's got high contrast, very beautiful colors. It has like this weird CRT overlook on it, so that it looks like old cartoon art. It looks beautiful. It's got an incredible soundtrack, which is like a full orchestra in the background. So it feels like very, like you feel like very triumphant every time you beat a thing, because there's like all these horns, there's all this violin, there's all kinds of crazy things going in the background. And then it has incredible voice acting too. And I didn't even know this game existed. It just dropped. Everyone was like, this is mind-blowing. How did anyone know this was happening? And that just only came out this week. You can play it on Steam. It's called Absolum.
Yeah, I definitely have to play this.
Yes.
That sounds amazing. A roguelike side-scrolling beat-em-up. I love beat-em-up so much. So, yeah, this sounds right up my alley, dude.
Yeah, and it's heavy on lore, and also I genuinely think you'll see a little bit of it, and you'll be like, oh, I could put 10 hours into this and never really think twice about it. And that's usually like the greatest sign of these roguelikes, is the loop will keep you in. I feel like this is one that I was going to put a little bit of time into because I really want to play Ghost of Yotei. And then the next thing you know, I'd put 4 hours into it because I like, this is great. This is wonderful. Nice. Yeah, so Absolum, I played Ball X Pit. I also got to play CloverPit. This one I'll talk a little less about, but is another roguelike game. It's kind of built like Inscription, where you're in a little puzzle room that you can maneuver around. But the base of it, you are playing a not roulette game, sorry, a slot machine. And the slot machine, you can get... what makes it a roguelike is that you need, in the amount of runs you have to make enough money to pay off a debt. That debt keeps going up until you can theoretically escape. There's zany stuff that happens, and so on and so forth as part of the story. But what makes it roguelike is that you can buy items that influence your luck, or might influence how many things showcase. And so you get started to play with those items to make it much easier for you to get, a jackpot, or get, a bunch of bells, but maybe you level up all the bells, or you level up your chances of receiving bells, and that utilizes into like more and more and more money. It's been interesting. I like it. I think in a very strong roguelike week, not even a week alone, it's in a tough spot, but I've enjoyed CloverPit as of yet. I think I'm only scratching the surface of what might happen, because I feel like it's more like Inscription, where there's going to be a weird story, meta breaking element to it. And so I think there will be more of this. And then finally, what I want to talk about is I also got to play a Microsoft game, one that I've been very excited for. That is the recent video game from the fine people at Double Fine. You might know them as the people who made Psychonauts, which I don't know about you. Psychonauts and Psychonauts 2 are some of my favorite games of all time.
So good.
And this one is called Keeper. It just came out on last Friday, so when this podcast comes out, it's only been out for a few days. I've played, I'd say, about 2 hours of it. What it is you are a lighthouse. Quite literally, a lighthouse gets knocked over by, an incoming wave of stuff. Anyways, but your lighthouse becomes alive. And so your lighthouse now starts walking, and you are this lighthouse. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous game. Artistically, it's like all a bunch of watercolors. And I mean this not in a bad way. I mean this in a good way. But do you remember the PlayStation game Dreams, where you could make all of these little games? It looks... Yeah. It looks like not a video game built in that, because it is far better than that. But it does have that like paintbrush element to it that makes it look cool. It makes it look like an art piece as you're playing around. It's gorgeous. There's so many beautiful elements. It feels like such an alien world. You're a lighthouse in an alien world. It's so colorful. It's so beautiful. But after playing 2 hours, it is a very slow experience. The first little bit is about learning to walk. The next little bit is like slow elements on how you're interacting with things. And then about 2 hours in, I've now started to tackle slight puzzles, but I don't think this is going to be a mechanically strong game that's going to have a lot to it. Unless this game is a very long game and I'm just at the very short end of before it branches out into more stuff. But right now it seems like it's more of a visual elements piece more than a mechanically driven game. I'm enjoying what I'm playing as of yet. I'll have to play more to figure out if I really, really do love this. But it is, if you like Double Fine, you're willing to take a gamble on this. This is a gorgeous game that I've been playing on my Xbox. And that's it. I played a lot this week.
Yeah. It's been a good week.
It's been a good week. It's not going to stop. That's the crazy part. I know there are more things coming in the horizons. But we will talk about that in the next few weeks, and we will talk to you about the news from this week right after this. Welcome back. It is time for the news of the week. But before we even discuss the news of the week, we got to talk about the producer quiz. That is a brand new segment we just started about a month ago. I think actually 5-6 weeks. We're 3-2. I think is our score against each other, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
maybe even 4-2. Someone keep track for me. Please let us know in the comments down below, youtube.com/AWGames, where we're at in our little competition. But what this is a producer quiz where our producers try and test us on our video game trivia knowledge. We answer 3 questions every single week, and at the end of this episode, we will give you the answers. But first, here come the 3 questions from our producer quiz.
Yes, which I will say, I love this new edition, and I'm so glad for everyone who listens to the podcast who enjoys it as well. This has been so fun. Any excuse to talk about video game trivia and video game history, I love it. So question number 1 from the producer quiz. Which famous musician helped compose parts of the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 soundtrack, but went uncredited in the final release? Is the answer A, Dr. Dre, B, Jay-Z, C, Vanilla Ice, or D, Michael Jackson? I know this one, Una.
I also know this one. This is Michael Jackson.
You are correct.
Michael Jackson made music for Sonic 3, and it was not disclosed until the game was released. He also wrote music for Moonwalker. This was like the era of time where he was trying to get involved into video games. He only, I think, did 3 things, but this was one of them. Which I don't know if the casino level from Sonic 3 is written by Michael Jackson, but that's one of my favorite songs of all Sonic games, the Sonic 3 casino levels.
Yeah, I'm not sure either exactly which ones he helped on, but yeah, you're correct. The answer is D, Michael Jackson. I know, too, there was a phase when they were re-releasing the game where there were some like copyright issues where they couldn't use the songs that Michael Jackson worked on. But God, the music in Sonic 3 from Michael Jackson is so good. It's so good. So, both me and you are going with D, Michael Jackson.
That's right. We'll reveal the answers later, but I'm pretty certain we know that one.
Yeah, that's got to be right. But yeah, we'll reveal it at the very end of the podcast. Question 2. In Pokemon Red and Blue, what type is the legendary glitch Pokemon Missing No? Is it A, water, B, ghost, C, bird normal, or D, flying rock? Ooh.
So this is a really tough one because if you don't know, Missing Number in the original 2 Pokemons was a character that is not theoretically a character. What you would do is you would have to swim or fly across the ocean.
Yes.
And then on a very specific island, you would run around the coast, like on the very edge of the water and the land. And if you just kept doing that, eventually it would trigger Missing No, and Missing No would be a glitchy flying thing. You can really see what it was. It would say Missing No, and acquiring it would essentially ruin your game. Which I did for several times because I thought it was very cool to at least get it. The hard part is that you need to surf, so I'm like, it could be water, but you can also fly and do it, so it could be flight, and all of these seem pretty likely. I'm going gut. Go for it, please. Go for it.
Oh, I was just going to say same thing. Is I definitely don't for sure know this answer. I keep going back and forth. I don't know why I'm thinking it's between C and D.
I'm in the same boat.
There's a part of me too that was thinking, oh, maybe something with Ghost as well. But my initial guess with my gut is that I think it's C, bird normal. That's going to be my guess.
I'm going to go. So I was in the same boat. I feel like I at least remember it having 2 classes.
Yes.
Like, I
yes,
feel
that's
like I have the vision of at least it being 2 classes. I just can't remember what they are. So I'm going to go with Flying Rock.
Okay.
I'm not confident with this. For all we know, it could be one of the other ones. But I feel like we're doing decent educated guesses on this one. So TBC.
Yeah. I think we're on to something. I really don't know, but I think it's either C or D.
I think so as well.
But I'm going to go with C, and Uno, you're going with D. Final answer.
Correct.
Okay. And last but not least, question number 3. Which video game was advertised with the claim of having 87 bazillion guns? I know this one too.
Yeah, me too.
Was it A, Borderlands, B, Destiny 2, C, Duke Nukem 3D, or D, High on Life? I am a huge Borderlands fan. The answer is A, Borderlands. It's got to be.
I also feel like they've been using the bazillion and trillion and gazillion for almost all of the games. I think every time it comes out, that's how they advertise. They're like, there's an insane amount of games, like gazillions of them. So yeah, I think you're correct. I think this is Borderlands. We could be very surprised, but I do remember a lot of the advertisement being like, it has so many guns.
Yes, I am very confident about 1 and 3. Number 2,
yes,
I'm a little bit worried about, but we'll see.
All right. Well, we will find out at the very end of this episode what is the producer quiz, and let us know if you know the answers as well, or at least what your score was in the comments down below. youtube.com/awgames. That is where you can see our video format of the podcast. All right. Battlefield 6 just launched. And not only has it just launched, but it is doing Call of Duty-like numbers, which is incredible because Battlefield really took a knee to Call of Duty several years ago. My understanding of this is that not only is it doing good numbers online, but genuinely, I think people like the online mode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, people seem to really, really be enjoying the multiplayer. I know, too, for me, first of all, from seeing people play Battlefield 6, I thought it looked really awesome. And I also got really excited from the preview I saw of the campaign, which is something I definitely want to check out. Unfortunately, at least from what I've seen, is I guess the campaign is not getting great reviews. I'm going to wait to judge it until I play it myself because I love a good story and a good FPS story and campaign. But universally, everyone seems to just adore the multiplayer, and seeing other top streamers playing it and seeing footage of it, it looks really awesome. Like the destructive elements look really, really cool. The huge battles. The last Battlefield game I played was Battlefield 1 years ago. I think in 2016, and I really, really enjoyed that one. But Battlefield 6 does look sweet, and clearly the public really enjoys it as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get jumping in this because back when it was a Call of Duty or Battlefield, you know, you had to be in either or. Well, you didn't have to be in either or, but there was constant comparison from one to the other. I was way more into Battlefield. There was something about how frenetic and how many people could be in a party, and all the vehicle combat and the destructive nature of it that really attracted me. So I'm really excited to hopefully jump into that in the next week. Another piece of news. This one's about Destiny. Bungie in for some bad news here because Destiny 2 player count has now fallen to its lowest since Curse of Osiris. Essentially the point where Bungie once said it was weeks away from shutting down the game entirely last time it had numbers like this. If I'm being truthful, I'm not surprised because Destiny 2 came out in 2017.
2017 it came out.
Yeah, it's been running for it's had a long life on consoles. It's been 8 years. They've been constantly updating it, of course, but I do feel it's either time for Destiny 3 or Bungie has got to do something different, I think, at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I love Bungie. Again, I with the original Halo series all the way up to Halo Reach, obviously Bungie worked on that, and then Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 being incredibly successful. Destiny's always been a game I've wanted to get into, but I've never jumped in. It always looks so fun. I love looter shooters, so I feel like I would really like this game. And I do know that people who do play Destiny absolutely adore this game and are obsessed with it. So certainly, I hope this means, like you said, Uno, there's either something that changes or they're working on a Destiny 3. I'm not sure, but I hope Destiny in some capacity obviously sticks around because the fan base is so passionate about it. But like you said, it's been almost a decade that Destiny 2 has been around. So it's been having a really, really great run.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's done. And like Destiny 1 before that had several years as well. So I feel like we're at a point that it's just going to sunset itself. I think it's gonna. If you announce a Destiny 3, I think people will start getting excited again. I think it's just hard to keep beating at the same video game. But there are people. I mean, I know a lot of people who live and die by Destiny and no other game. Yeah. So there's still a very, very big audience that wants this. But not surprising. I do feel like it's been around for so long. It's going to eventually dip down in numbers. So we will see what Bungie does in the next few weeks. Next up, just recently we found out there was cancellation of a live service God of War game that's supposed to be made by Bluepoint. Those are the people who made the most recent remake of Demon Souls, Shadow of Colossus. They're known for remaking essentially PlayStation titles at this point. So they had to cancel their live service game. Sony also canceled Bend's live service game, which sucks because Bend, I feel, has not come out with a game in quite some time. And I do like that studio as well. But good news for Sony's Bluepoint. It looks like they're out there looking to hire for a third-person action game. Now, with Bluepoint's pedigree, what do we think they're remaking? Because I feel like that's what they're doing. They've got to be remaking a game, or it's got to be part of a different IP, because they do not make their own stuff typically.
Right. Oh God, that's so tough to say. I mean, I don't know if this falls into third-person action game, but Bluepoint did pretty good with Demon Souls.
I know exactly what you're thinking.
Little Bloodborne action.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, wait a second. Look, if we're not going to get number 2, just give me number 1 with bells and whistles, maybe.
Yeah. Please.
Yeah, and they did really good with Demon Souls. Like that PS5 version is incredible.
It really is. Because again, too, it can be tricky when these games get remade. But I think Bluepoint's job with Demon Souls, they did such a good job that really, I feel like that feeling of needing to going back and playing the original Demon Souls really has been eliminated thanks to the PS5 version of Demon Souls, because it is so true to the game to a T. It runs great. There's quality of life improvements. Still to this day, one of the prettiest games I've ever seen. So Bluepoint getting its hands on a little Bloodborne remake,
I think that'd be incredible. And like, if you think of they made the Shadow of Colossus remake as well. And I genuinely feel from playing that, I was like, I don't need to go back and play the previous game. This is that game, just gorgeous and up to date. And so like mechanically, they only do slight edits on it. Content never really gets changed. So it's not like a remake like Capcom does, where you do feel like you can go back and play RE2. They really make the best version of that video game. I think Bloodborne doesn't feel old, but man, if you could tell me it has bells and whistle, it's got HDR, it's got ray tracing, 60 frames, maybe they add in some multiplayer elements to, I don't know. I think that's a strong contender for a video game I would buy from them. But it could be completely different. Could be a third person. It could be another God of War remake as well. We will see, but I am excited. I do like Bluepoint a whole lot. And I'm hoping we get to hear what Bend is up to as well. Because they have not, I don't think they released anything since Days Gone. So Sony's still got some really heavy hitters, and yet nothing's happened with them quite yet. All right, next piece of news. This one is about Capcom. I don't know if you are aware of this, Chugs, but the Capcom finals for I want to get the exact title. The Tokyo Game Show finals of Capcom Cup 12. During the Tokyo Game Show was announced that Capcom Cup 12 and the Street Fighter Live World Championship will be streaming live, but this time on pay-per-view. So they have not disclosed the exact cost of it because they say it may change. But what they have announced is that to watch the Capcom Cup 12s right now, they're looking for it to cost about $27. It's a pay-per-view. That's on March 14th, 2026. And then the Street Fighter Live Championship, that will be March 15th, the next day. And that will be $27 with it bundled up together. It may change in price, is what they said. But a lot of people are kind of mad at this. because historically these esports things have been either free online or, you get to see it in person and then it airs online for free. These are the first times it's sold for pay-per-view. And so people are a little miffed about it. I'm going to say something pretty polarizing. I think it's fine. And here's my reasoning for it. One, of course, I think we come from a sports background, pro wrestling, pay-per-views, the large events, you end up paying for them. But I also feel like boxing is the same way, mixed martial arts is the same way. And while I think part of the population doesn't see them as that, but these are athletes. These are athletes, like playing video games at the highest caliber is an athlete. In fact, the government claims it's an athlete because the same visas that you would get for an athlete is what you would get for an international player of, let's say, StarCraft or Street Fighter Live. If they had to travel around, they would be under sport. Esport is a sport. So this almost feel like the natural progression of these things. And I think this is the first one to do it, but I would not be surprised that if this does okay, and I think it will, truthfully, I think it will still do okay. I would not be surprised if League of Legends next year. I will not be surprised if EVO has one element of, a bot membership style. To be seen. This might be revered like crazy. And I know this is an opinion that's not going to be super popular, but I do think, like, if we're treating this like a sport, I'm not surprised it's going to cost a bit of money to watch it.
Yeah, this will be very telling because, like you said, as far as I know, I can't think of a scenario where a video game tournament has been on pay-per-view. For example, the League of Legends World Championships every year at a stadium sold out with people with musical performances and all that stuff. And I'm pretty sure you could just watch that for free on Twitch in most video game tournaments. So like you said, it is kind of the natural progression with things as esports and video games themselves are continuing to grow. Yeah, it will be interesting to see if this does really well and where that goes going forward. Also, if this means the esports athletes get more compensation, that's a positive as well for these guys.
I'd be wondering if that's the case as well. Do they get a bonus from this as well? Because someone's making money off this, so and they're the ones at stake here, or in the limelight. I'd be very curious to see how this can be spread out in the future.
Yeah, same.
So we will see. That's out in March, both of those events. I think that's it's going to be polarizing for the next few little months, but I do think we're either going to get to a point where these things all cost money or a service is going to distribute them and you're paying it monthly.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if somehow they get coupled up together, because that's just the way media is leaning towards. And I think eventually video game media and video game sports was bound to eventually get there. So I think this is natural. I want to spend more money? No, don't get me wrong. But I do think, like, at some point I get it. I definitely do get it. It is a sport. We're completely fine when it happens to boxing. So I think we should be completely fine to do that. And then finally, last little bit I wanted to talk about is there is a recent leak that just came out about Pokemon games and their budget. Now, I want to say ahead of time before we discuss this, there is no confirmation that this is the exact amounts of what these are these video games cost, but this is based on a pretty valid leak. We're talking rumors from this valid leak, not confirmed by Nintendo though, or Game Freak either. But Pokemon is under a weird situation here where fans are actually discussing the cost of the video game compared to the cost it costs to make the video game. So, for example, just recently, Pokemon Sword and Shield, according to these leaks, cost about $16.4 million to make. Pokemon Legends Arceus cost $14.4 million, and Scarlet and Violet cost about $21.8 million. Now, those numbers don't mean anything if you don't compare it to something. So if you compare it to Call of Duty, Black Ops, that comes out every single year, is at the highest price point, which is the same price that the Pokemon games are selling. They cost somewhere between $450 million and $700 million to make. Now, the thing is, the scale of how much money a video game costs depends on what you're producing and who's producing it. So if you look at Sony and you look at, let's say, Ghost of Tsushima and Yote, they both have cost about $60 million to produce. So about 3 times what these Pokemon have cost, which is still lower than, let's say, a Horizon and so on. And a lot of the other games, like the Naughty Dog games, for example, have cost a lot more to make as well. So,
well, and that as well, you look at, GTA 6, which is costing $1 billion to create. And then that's also projected to make it back within the first 30 days, which is just wild to think about.
And
absolutely wild to think
like
about.
All these games we're discussing are around the same price point, which is like the premium price point for a video game, a AAA game. And this like more recent $10 above that price line. These are all games that are going there. So it's an evolving scale of what it costs. And I think a lot of people are mad at Nintendo, or at least this subset of people are mad that Nintendo games cost so little yet cost so much. I actually don't. I think the value of video game is not based on how much money is invested into it. Because
I agree.
As an art piece, I feel like a lot of the Pokemon games are more fascinating to me than any of the Black Ops games, for example. And Black Ops may have cost $700 million to make, but in the end, I feel like my experience with... and if we're bringing this to an even larger scale, I feel like my experience with Silksong is 3 times what it would be for a Call of Duty, yet somehow the cost of Silksong is like 700 times less, for example. So
right.
I'm of the belief that you can't really base it on how much they invested on a video game to make the cost of the video game, because great management, poor management can change on things. What type of video game you're making, what engine you're building it on really makes sense. But I do think it's fascinating to see all these numbers in play, because it does mean that at least Nintendo seems very conservative with how much money they spend on developing their first person IPs.
Right. Which I think historically has been the case for quite some time. But oftentimes, again, first party Nintendo quality is really unlike anything else.
Exactly.
And you've seen that before for years and years and years, and being able to put hours and hours into these games. So yeah, it is an interesting discussion for absolutely, especially looking at all the different price ranges as far as people putting it together. But Uno, completely agree with you.
Yeah. Let us know what you think about this. Do you think the cost of making a video game should relate to the cost of what they charge for that video game? I think that it's a very slippery slope, but I would love to hear your opinions. Go to youtube.com/awgames and let us know in the comments down below. I will read those throughout the week before our next episode on next Monday. That is it for our news for the week. There's actually some interesting news pieces to talk about this week, but that is not it for our podcast, because our favorite segment of the show and the answers to the producer quiz come to you right after this. Welcome back. It is time. Our favorite segment of the show, the Mailbag, the arcade mailbag, brought to you by our friends at Upper Deck. UpperDeck.com if you want your stuff. We actually have a pack today from the Metal Pack, the most recent AEW pack that has been released this year. One of our favorite packs to open for sure. What do we have today, Chugs?
We got a good pack right here.
We got Emi Sakura, Anna J. You can see the beautiful sheen from all there. There you go. The trios of Jeff Jarrett, Satnam, and Jay Lethal. Oh, we've got Turbo Floyd. That's a good one. The Butcher, Andy Williams. That's a great card as well. And Mortos. I think I've said this before. Mortos, look at that Mortos card. That's the coolest wrestler in the world right there. Look at
he's pretty cool.
Yeah, if I was a kid, that would be my guy by far. You can get the Metal Pack as well as all kinds of other stuff on upperdeck.com or upperdeckstore.com, including the new AEW memorabilia launch from Upper Deck. Authenticated features a lineup of standout autographed pieces like Adam Copeland's Rated R Superstar print, a Kenny Omega's Flying High Gold, and Chris Jericho's Fozzy Lionheart in London. For the first time, collect Hangman Page signed Cowboy Snapback, the Young Bucks inscribed Reeboks Pump, Reebok pumps with super kick and party inscriptions, and MJF's plaid cashmere scarf. Each piece brings personality, style, and a touch of wrestling history to your collection. Visit upperdeckstore.com or click the link in the show notes to grab yours today. Thank you to Upper Deck as always. We have 3 questions today from our mailbag. You can get your questions asked. Go to tbs.com/arcade mailbag. We always answer 3. What do we got today, Chugs?
Yes, we do. And first, we have a question from Asher. Asher says, hey, Chugs and Uno, big fan of both of you guys. Well, thank you, Asher. With Blueprints, Hades 2, CloverPit, Mega Bonk, Rematch, Absolum, and Claire Obscure, can this be considered an indie game? We indie fans are eating very well in 2025. I would go as far as saying this is probably the greatest year for indie games of all time. I wanted to ask you if you share the same opinion, or was there a year of indie game releases that you believe matches or eclipses 2025? Thanks for taking the time to answer my question. Asher, I'm going to say immediately, I do think I agree with you.
I think this is it. Yes.
This year for indie games, I mean, the video game industry as a whole, as far as game releases, has been so massive, but indie games specifically, I mean, this year has just been incredible. Another super important year, and Uno, I know you're going to say this as well, like 2008, which had Braid and Castle Crashers with it. I believe Meat Boy came out in 2010. So like that first Xbox Live Arcade era with games like, Fez, Super Meat Boy, Braid, Castle Crashers, all that. That was a really special time. Of course, the Undertale release in 2015 was big as well. But as far as like a collection of indie titles, man, 2025, I don't think you can beat it.
I don't think so either. I think there's a ton of years where there's been strong contenders, but I don't think there's ever been a year where there's 15 games on my list where I'm like, wow, this could be a purely independent list for my game of the year at the end of the year. Yeah. I think there's been very strong games, or there's been 2 or 3 before, and we were discussing this a little bit off screen, but 2008 being, I think, the closest strong year because it had Braid, it had Castle Crashers, it had like the first batch of strong indie games to ever come out, and there's been a few other years that have rivaled that. Return of the Obra Dinn was one of the years that had big stuff. I think Outer Wilds was a great year as well, but it never had, I think, as many incredibly great games as we've had this year. I think this is it. I think this is the strongest games lineup for an indie year. Maybe even just games in general. This might be the best year ever. I would love to discuss this on a larger scale later on, though, because I would love to compare it. But off the top of my head, I do think this is the strongest indie year.
Yeah, agreed. Next up, we have a question from Devin. Devin says, hey, Chugs and Uno, what is your favorite character select screen? My pick is Mortal Kombat 1. It had it all. Motion captured fighters, hilarious portraits, and incredible background music. There's a 10-hour extended version on YouTube in case you need something to listen to the next time you're in the gym. Devin, great question. Uno, what do you think? What's your favorite character select screen?
So my first one that pops into my head is I can't think of a character select screen and not think about Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Incredible menu music, but I think it's just so colorful. All of the characters in play, as you select them, you get your 3 slots, so you get to pick multiple characters as well. So like, and like, as someone who's done graphic arts and done like video production stuff before, many times when I want to do something that involves multiple participants, I'll go back to Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and be like, what can I, from this layout, what can I do to like stretch this out to what project I'm doing? So that's the first one that comes up to me for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to name 2. Number 1, this one just as far as a nostalgia pick, just because I love the music so much. But the original Super Mario Kart on SNES, just because I love the music so much. That character select screen is like burned into my memory. But another one that's burned into my memory is WCW Thunder on the PlayStation 1, which was so great. Because when you would go over whatever wrestler you decided to pick, you could play, again, like a little video where the wrestler explained why you should pick him, or in some cases, like with Kevin Nash, explained why you shouldn't pick him, which some of them are so funny. Some of them are so great. I thought that was such a cool, interesting way to do a character select screen on a wrestling game. So, yeah, those are my 2. I'm going to do Super Mario Kart and then also WCW Thunder. Devin, great question. And last but not least, Harvey Birdman. says, "Hi, Chugs and Uno, longtime listener here." Well, thank you very much. I've been loving the recent producer quiz segment. Thank you. My son and I have been playing along on our drive to school, and it's turned into a fun Monday morning routine for us. He's been picking up bits of video game history and even sharing them with his friends at school. I love that.
That's awesome.
That's so awesome. If I wanted to keep the video game history lessons going with my son, what resources would you recommend? Oh, Birdman. Have I got some resources?
Please take the floor, Chugs. This is your wheelhouse right here.
I love this stuff. So, Birdman, there's a couple of things. The biggest thing being some books that I'm going to recommend. Number one, and to me, the most important and most valuable history tool is the Video Games Textbook, the second edition. So they recently released this. It's an incredible compilation of the most important moments in video game history. It goes all the way back to the prehistory of video games, talking about pinball and all like the early interactive computer games like OXO and Noughts and Crosses. It goes into the very first video game, that being Tennis for Two. Then obviously into the generations and generations going forward. It goes the whole way up to the Steam Deck, the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X. So it goes the whole way up to the current generation. It is such an incredible book with so much knowledge and so much history in there. So I'd recommend that, the Video Game Textbook, the second edition. Also, there's another book called The Game Console 2.0 that goes into this very descriptive detail about each video game console with really, really cool pictures. That one's awesome as well. And then this one is more to read, but there's this book called Replay, The History of Video Games, that more so goes into detailed interviews with the people involved in making video games in its very early history. It has a lot of really cool stories that I had never read before, lots of cool different knowledge, but definitely the number one as far as information you can learn. They even have quizzes that you can take yourself, like in this book. But again, the Video Games Textbook, the second edition, it's the best book I've ever read on the history of video games. So that would be my recommendation, Birdman.
Oh yeah, and I have nothing to add. Honestly, if it wasn't Wikipedia, I wouldn't tell you. Chugs has all the recommendation on this stuff. This is his expertise. Thank you to everyone who sent in a question. Thank you, Howard V. Birdman. That's a great one. I hope you and your son get to hear this episode as well. We're actually not done because I don't know if you remember this. We did a producer quiz. And Chugs, would you read the answers and find out whom of this week is the trivia master?
You got it. Okay, just scroll down. Here we go. I'm at the answer key now.
I'm doing the same thing.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
Oh, okay.
Question one. Once again, which famous musician helped compose parts of the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 soundtrack, but when uncredited in the final release, both of us answered Michael Jackson, and the correct answer is indeed Michael Jackson.
Yes.
Jackson collaborated with composer Brad Buxer on several tracks for Sonic 3, but his name was omitted, reportedly because he was unhappy with the sound quality and due to Sega's public relations concerns at the time. Very interesting. I didn't know that. But so we were both right. Both of us got 1 point. Question two. In Pokemon Red and Blue, what type is the legendary glitch Pokemon missing no? I guessed Bird Normal. Uno guessed Flying Rock. We were right about one thing. It was
two names.
It was two names. But I guessed correctly. Keyword guessed. I guessed correctly. The answer was Bird Normal. The Bird type is an unused type that exists only in the code of the Generation 1 and 2 games and has not been present since. The glitch Pokemon missing no and M have the Bird type. And M have the Bird type is their primary type in English versions of Pokemon Red and Blue. So, Uno, we were both on the right train of thought. I got lucky on that one.
I genuinely thought, so I didn't want to say it while we were discussing it because I didn't want to play my hand. I was like, Bird type? That doesn't exist. I don't remember this at all. And so I didn't say anything, only to find out it did exist in the first two generations, just was barely used. So,
oh, man.
So close.
So close. So close. And question three, which video game advertised was with the claim of having 87 bazillion guns? Uno, we are both correct. The answer was Borderlands. In its marketing, Gearbox claimed that Borderlands featured over 87 bazillion guns, but the real number is 16,164,886 unique weapons through procedural combinations. That's wild.
That's a fascinating number, because like I was trying to think about that. I was like, I know the only reason the number of guns is so high is just the random stats and the stuff you can attach to it and the different base models, and eventually it just it collapses into these larger and larger numbers. That's 16 million guns is a lot of guns, and that's just the first game.
So many guns. Can you imagine if someone took the time to try and collect every single one of those guns?
Write a wiki about every single one.
Right.
Well, it does seem like, Chugs, you walk away the winner from this week's production quiz. I believe we're now 4-2. Chugs being 4, 2 being myself. There are still plenty of time because we don't even know when this ends. We're just doing it forever. But very interesting questions this week.
Very good.
We were so close to both getting it. But hey, I'm glad to know that Michael Jackson one, I was like, we know this. Borderlands, we know this. It does feel good to know that we're knowledgeable about this stuff when we talk about video games every single week. So. Thank you very much, everyone. If you want to leave comments about the production quiz or anything we discussed today, youtube.com/awgames. That is where you can find our video format of our podcast. Drops every single Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time. But if you want to hear the audio, it's available wherever podcasts may be. That is in the wee hours of Monday morning. You can also find us both on Twitch as well as AW Games. AW Games is twitch.tv/AW Games. Myself, twitch.tv/EvilUno. And the Chugs at twitch.tv/The Chugs. You can find us playing video games, but the Chug, I'll be honest, the Chug is on there more often. If you want to go check some stuff, he's playing Expedition 33 Silksong, and who knows what else he's getting into. That is it for us this week. I hope you will join us next Monday for another episode of All Elite Arcade. We appreciate you for giving us your time of the week, and I hope you have a great week and have a good day. Bye-bye.